A lot of people saw that I was really mean, very outspoken, but not in the right way. I felt like there were so many big personalities that if I didn't speak up, I would have just gone lost in.
Hey besties, welcome back to another episode of I Missed Me. Today I am especially extremely excited because I have Linzy Luu with me, and she was in a very popular show that you may know called Too Hot to Handle. So I am extremely excited for our conversation today. I feel like people get, Linzy, welcome to I Missed Me.
Thank you.
People get this perspective of they get such a small version of someone, and me having a conversation with you, I'm like, people probably don't, or maybe we'll never get to see who you really are. And that's why I'm opening this space up of I want people to get to know you for you and your heart, because you have such a beautiful heart that I want people to see that. So welcome. How are you feeling?
Thank you. That was such a beautiful introduction. Thank you for that. I'm doing amazing. I'm so excited to be here chatting with you.
I know, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for today's conversation. You were in Too Hot to Handle.
Yes,
I watched Too Hot to Handle. I love it. It's one of my favorite shows. How was your experience being on the show?
It was unlike anything I could have imagined. Bigger than life, and it is a experience that I'm forever grateful for. However, it was really difficult. A lot more difficult than I had imagined.
What are those difficulties that you look back and you're like, people don't get to see this? And I feel like if they did, nobody would want to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be completely honest, I could barely watch it back.
Really? Wow.
There are some people who have gone through this experience and love watching themselves back, and just sit there, binge all the episodes and dissect everything. For me personally, I couldn't, because from the period where we were casting, going into filming, and then rewatching the show back, so much time has gone by in between.
Really? How much time? Can you talk about that? Did you sign something?
I can talk about it now.
How much time goes after?
It was a little bit over a year.
Oh, and that's so frustrating.
From once we wrapped filming and then the show coming out.
What?
So it was just a lot of waiting around. And then during that waiting period, you have no clue what's going to make it on the show because you film for so long.
And you change so much as a person. That's opinions that you had back then.
And you're only seeing a small glimpse into a person's life. And that goes through editing, goes through producing, all of that. So you really don't get to see who people are as a person truly. It's just what you're meant to see.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And I felt like I grown a lot for the better, but it's just so hard to see that version of myself. And from the small glimpses that I did see, I'm just sitting there oh my gosh, what are you doing? What are you saying?
Yeah.
That's not you.
And people don't get to understand the growth. I feel I have so many questions. Oh my gosh. What is the biggest misconception that you feel people got
from watching the show? A lot of people saw that I was really mean, very outspoken, but not in the right way. That's just from what I've seen on social media, people saying, oh my gosh, you're being so rude, you're being so mean to them. It was, I don't know. I just don't relate to that version of myself.
You don't feel like it's you on TV.
No, I felt like I did put on a show just because I felt like there were so many big personalities that if I didn't speak up, I would have just gone lost in.
So much pressure. Yeah. What's the biggest lesson that you've learned about yourself through this whole process?
I went onto the show thinking I was going to find the love of my life. That's why I even applied.
If I can ask you, sorry I interrupt you, but the most honest question: did you go into the show wanting to find someone to spend the rest of your life with, or for the attention that you knew was going to come after the show?
So even before I did Too Hot to Handle, we didn't know it was Too Hot to Handle.
You really don't know?
No.
Okay.
No clue. They make it so difficult for you to figure it out because you're being casted under a completely different show.
Okay.
Different like different name, a different concept, and all the way up until you're there in front of the cameras and they say surprise, you're on too hot to handle. You
Yeah.
truly don't know. Like obviously
Wow.
you have your like suspicions and all of that, but you don't know for sure. And before I did Too Hot to Handle, I went through the casting process for Love
Love
Island.
Island.
Like a lot of people don't know this, and I basically filmed for over a week as a mock crew for Love Island.
Wow.
And yeah, I went through the entire process. And the reason why I did that was because I wanted to put myself out there and find like my
Actually find
person.
someone.
Yeah, I've never been in a relationship before, so it was just like something that I was dying to achieve. After that didn't work out, Too Hot to Handle came to me, well, as a different show, and was like, are you looking for a summer on a yacht, meeting new people? Like, you could find your person here. And obviously, I saw that as a sign and said,
Yes.
yeah, like, why not? Because it's so hard for me to put myself out there and be vulnerable in terms of like relationships. So I thought I was so closed off and I needed something this significant to pull me out of my shell.
Wow. That's so amazing. Oh my gosh. So biggest lesson that about yourself after, going through, I mean, you go through not only romantic relationships,
Yeah.
but like you go through friendships and like you get to meet people that may be putting on a show that like
Yeah.
what, how did you stay grounded, and what is the biggest thing that you learned about yourself of being like in that behind the scenes type of, process?
Yeah. So being on there, I went into it with this misconception about myself that I wasn't able to open up, that I was really closed off. I even told the girls this before I went on the show. I packed like 3 suitcases filled with stuff, and I said, no, I'm not letting anybody borrow my stuff at all. Because on the shows, like a lot of girls switch out their clothes or they just share things because you're there for so long. You're only allowed to bring like a certain amount of things. I packed everything one by one and I said, this is all
Nobody's
for me.
touching
Nobody's
anything.
touching anything. I'm not sharing anything.
Where do you think that was your actual mindset before the show?
Yeah.
And where do you think that came from? Like a fear
I
of
think like
loss, or
I think it came from a lot of insecurities of
Yeah.
wanting to be like the best looking person, or like just having everything that I needed to make myself feel beautiful. Because living in LA, everybody's gorgeous. Everybody has like the best thing and it's always vying to be like,
or the money to be,
yes, like vying to be bigger and better than anybody else. And I felt like I adopted that mindset for a really long time and just wanting to be so out of this world and just feel so beautiful and gorgeous. And I think I was truly lacking in that, which is why it turned out to be like superficial things.
Yeah.
So I was like, nobody's gonna have this. I bought the best clothes, like the newest things. I'm not sharing with
Nobody's
anyone.
touching them.
I get there, immediately like bonded with all the girls. Next thing you know, I'm dressing them up for their days. I'm not going on them, but I'm just sitting there. I'm like, you would look amazing in this dress that I bought. Doing their makeup, doing all of these things. So not even in the relationship aspect, it showed me that I'm a lot more
Compassionate and sharing and
yes.
genuine that you thought you could be, and that's so beautiful. What was that day where you kind of just shift that mindset of I can actually share and it's okay. I'm not gonna, I'm not less because someone is more,
Yeah.
or we can both be a lot and it's okay.
I think it was from hearing a lot about their stories behind the scenes. Like, you don't see any of this on camera or
Yeah.
like on the show. It's just more of what I went through in that experience. But it's just everybody on the show comes from so many like different places and walks
Backgrounds.
of life that is so incredible once you just sit down, strip back all the layers of phones, of having all like these outside forces, that you're truly getting to know them as people and
You just like
connecting. Yeah.
empathize in like a human level. What was your favorite part about being in a reality TV show?
It was to have something, to have an experience of your own. Like, nobody else can say they experienced that, being there with that group of people at that time and place.
I love
Like
that.
something that I can just have and call my own.
Like you can just say I went on Too Hot to Handle.
Yeah,
like
I went on
that's
Too Hot to Handle.
that's
I had the
insane.
best time. Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow, I love that. And what is okay? We were talking about this before, Karen.
Yeah.
I literally I have so many questions, and I didn't want to ask any because I
Yeah.
want to ask them on the episode. What is a misconception that you just you walked into the show that you left out of being like, this was not what I thought it was gonna be? Was it maybe like, you know, the blowing up type of part that like
Yeah.
reality paints you to? You walk out of the show and you're a completely different person in front of people's eyes. Like, what is that misconception that you had about
Oh
being
my
on
gosh.
TV?
This is such a great question because when right before I found out it was too hot to handle, they were asking me a lot of questions about like my dating life or my past relationships. And at this point in time, I was already living in LA for I think like 5 years, and I did go through a phase of hooking up, like going out, getting drunk every single night, being with this person, being with that person, and kind of chasing that like clout mentality. And it's so easy to get wrapped up in that. So when they were asking me about this, and I said, yeah, oh my gosh, I've been with this person, I've been with that person. Like I'm so
Experienced, and
yes.
I've been through a
And
lot.
I felt like I needed to put on a show and say all of these things in order to make it on this
The
show.
show.
And I just had this mindset of, okay, like I just have to tell them past versions of myself so they think that I'm good enough to be on here, and then I'll just figure it out once I do get on. And when I did make it on, they put me in as a bombshell, which is somebody who's going in with the mentality of fucking things up for everybody else,
Yeah.
of ruining relationships, of just being like
Do they tell you
pretentious.
that you have to be that person? Like, when they walk in and they're like, I'm gonna fuck shit up, I don't care about if
Yeah.
anyone is coupled up. Do they tell you that you have to be that person?
No, they don't tell you anything. It's more of like, okay, I know this
It's
is what
based
I'm
on your
going in.
personalities. Okay.
Yes. And they put me in that because based of all the answers that I had given them before. So when I actually
That weren't
did
even
go
like your
in,
actual
yes,
answer.
it wasn't like actually me.
Wow.
I was celibate for so long when I went on. Yeah.
Wow.
I was celibate for I think like 8 months.
Uh-huh.
So I wasn't hooking around. I wasn't hooking up with people. I wasn't like hoeing around or doing all of these things, but that's the impression that I
That
gave them.
you
So they
gave.
said, "Oh my gosh, she's perfect for this like role or this like being a
Yeah,
bombshell."
fucking shit up. Yeah.
Yes. So I went in there and I was like, "Oh my gosh, if this is what they think I'm perfect for." I felt like I kind of had to embody that, but I couldn't.
And it was a slap in the face too of like, those weren't even my answers, and because of
Yeah.
the answers I gave, now they think I'm you know.
And it just all stems from me not being like open and honest with myself. Like I was not able to,
Exactly.
yeah, be myself at all. So I feel like that's what the experience taught me was that I went into this thinking, what can I say about myself to that they would want to hear? Like I'm just it stems from like being a people pleaser too, like
Yeah.
just telling them what they wanted to hear and then the outcome being not what I was expecting, even though that's like
Well, I guess that was such a like healing experience for you to like walk into this experience and then walking
yeah.
out and being like, I don't have to exaggerate who I am for people to like me. And if they do like me because of the version that I exaggerate, they're not liking me for me. You know?
Yes.
Is that what you think? Is that what you think
Yeah,
it healed?
1,000%. Because I went into that having this like certain mindset about myself and then walking out of it being like, oh my gosh, I'm completely different. I was not giving myself enough credit. I was being really harsh on myself. And it was just a whirlwind of experience, like breaking all of that down while still being in the house because I did go on there to find love. And the minute I got on there, the people, I love them to death. I love all the boys, but it was just not aligning with what
What you
I
want, what
wanted.
you
Yeah.
actually want. Okay, so you walk out of the show, and obviously there's a lot of attention that comes with the show, and oh my gosh, it wasn't
Yeah.
too hot to handle. All of the attention that comes after reality TV, and you get invited to all of these events, and you're in this public eye. Where everybody that, I mean, goes into reality TV, obviously that's what they want walking out. You know, that's what I would want, like walking out. I want to be the one who blows up. I want to be the
Yeah.
one who has like the most attention because it's going to get me brand deals and money and all of this stuff. Once you're in it, what is the biggest lesson that you learn about yourself of like, this isn't actually happiness, you know, this is very temporary, this is very materialistic. Like, I matter more, like my personal growth matters more. Like what have you learned about getting all of these things? Like has it
Yeah.
made you happy, or have you had to realize that happiness actually comes from within and from other experiences that's not necessarily like materialistic?
Yeah. So obviously going on to the show, you know there's going to be a lot of attention on you afterwards.
Yeah.
And I thought that that would change like my life or just made me feel so much more content and happy. And it did. Like it brought me a lot of
Opportunities.
incredible opportunities that I would not had gotten before. But like that just made me feel a lot more lonely because then I had to look inwards and kind of see why did I feel like this was gonna bring me like content or bring me like a sense of peace.
Yeah.
It was just I was searching for something else that I was searching for this like deep feeling of feeling like I was worth it or that I deserved
Attention.
these
Yeah.
things. Yeah. And after being on the show and reflecting on that and healing a part of myself, like this is not going out the way that I wanted it to, but it's taught me to be like a better person from it because like before going on the show I just had this idea of me finding my person. I was so stuck on a certain outcome that the minute it didn't work out like that I completely broke down. Like could barely watch the show back, could barely like think about the experience. Like everybody else was so happy with the way that things turned out with
Like
their
even
part on
if
the
I
show.
didn't
And yeah,
end up with someone, I got this and that, and you
yes,
wanted a person, and that's what you
yes,
did not get. Like
yeah,
you got everything else except the person. Wow. Like you had a certain expectation. And
yes.
how do you heal that kind of wound of it is okay if it's not here that I found my person, you know?
I have found self-love. Like that's
Mm,
what I came out of it with, and I had to keep reminding myself that because you go through a lot of workshops on the show. Like they put you in, it's basically called a retreat of rather than being like in the villa or in the house, they call it you
a
being in a
retreat.
retreat. And they put you through a lot of like mental challenges where you had to dig down and be so vulnerable and open with a bunch of like strangers. And it cost, since I didn't find a person there, it cost me to look inwards
Inward.
a lot and find out what I was lacking rather than like why can't I find a person for me. It was more of okay, what do I need to find in myself?
What have you worked through that now where you can like sit here and say like I love myself, and I don't know, I know that my person is gonna come because you're gorgeous and you have all of these things to
Thank
offer,
you.
and it's gonna come, but I don't know how and I don't know when, and I'm okay with that. Or
I would like to say that I'm fully healed, but I'm not. Like healing is not linear. It's
yeah.
a constant battle every day, but I can fully sit here and say I love myself enough to know that I need to be patient and have compassion for myself. And I'm constantly falling back into this like pattern of being so attracted to the wrong people and the wrong things for me and seeing the best outcome or having like a certain outcome in mind to where I'm seeing the best in people or seeing the best in situations and I'm not being like completely honest with myself.
And I admire you so much opening up about that, because you could also sit here and be like, yeah, I love myself and I have boundaries and I don't accept any less, because it definitely happens to me. Like I
Yeah.
have a self-growth podcast and I still see myself not anymore, and that's like my biggest,
Yeah.
thing in 2024 is just not accepting any less than I deserve. But that was a big thing for me in 2023 of like saying that I have these standards and these boundaries, but the moment this toxic ass but very cute guy walks into my
Yes.
life, I'm gonna like try to see the best in you, or maybe
Yeah.
try to fix you, or maybe make you see that I'm worthy of you changing or want to commit. But it's really not. And like something that really helped me, might help you, and might help
Yeah.
the people that are watching this is every time you're talking with a guy, and it's not just a guy, but it's just like friendships and relationships in general, is ask yourself, if someone were to tell you that you are just like that person, how would you feel? If someone were to tell you that you are just like the guy that you're talking to, how would that make you feel? And that is such an eye opener of like, I've talked with pieces of shit. Like I've
Yeah.
talked with the worst type of men that like, like cancel on me that, half an hour before we were going to see each other. Like just like narcissistic, toxic people. And if if someone were to tell me you're just like them, or you're just like your
Yeah.
partner, or you just like, a toxic friend that you may have, like how would that make me feel? And I don't want to be like them, and if you wouldn't want to be like them, then why have them around? And I feel like that is just such a big point of, okay, if I wouldn't want to be with the person that I'm talking with, then why? I want someone to inspire me and make me grow, and that can be very helpful when it comes to,
That's
letting
so
go.
crazy that you're bringing this up now, because I feel like I'm currently going through that of being so attracted to somebody that
It's just not good for you.
Yeah, not good for me. But the thing is that I always shift the blame on myself.
Mm-hmm.
Or I try to think of it as, what can I say to them? Well, I don't want them to treat me this way, so why would I treat them that way? Like, I want to treat them how I want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going in there with being so open and honest, hoping that this time will be different, or that I'll receive that same energy back. But it's just not been
Or
like
maybe
that.
staying a little longer is gonna make them realize that I deserve
Yes.
this. And I mean, I get, like, are you in a talking stage right now with someone that you're not?
Yeah, like a situationship that
Yeah.
I just keep spinning the block, and like every time I feel like it'll be different, or I reflect back and I think of it as, oh my gosh, when I was talking to them the last time, I was in such a toxic mindset that I was the problem, that I was doing all of
Maybe
these
now that
things
I've
wrong.
grown, maybe
Yes.
it's gonna work out. But yeah, and I love that you bring it up, because so many people that listen to the podcast are stuck in those situations
Yeah.
where it's like, I just don't know how to leave. Like, yes, I listen to self-growth podcasts. Yes, I've worked on myself. Yes, yes, yes. But how do I leave? And it's just like, until you don't leave, you're never going to stop feeling the pain. So it's just more of like, it's more of like,
So hard.
yeah, how long do you want to feel pain for? You know,
Yeah.
like how long do you want to, but I get you, because I started this podcast like a year and a half ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in a 2-year situationship with this guy that I was the one going back to him,
Yeah.
because I feel like I needed him, and
But you
felt
needed that validation.
you needed that
almost,
validation,
yeah.
and it was that validation that, like, he had so much to work on. Like, he
Yeah.
would smoke weed, and it was this like party animal of like the opposite of me, that I felt like I needed to help him become the best version of himself. But in reality, it was this subconscious belief of, I want to help him so that he changes, and he acknowledges the fact that I was the one that changed him,
Yeah.
so that he feels like he needs me. And it was just like me realizing, like, it's not him that I want. I just want to feel needed.
Yes.
And why do I want to feel needed? So everything has a root behind it. And once you work on that root, it's like you're actually able to let go. But I feel you, like, I understand how hard it is to, like,
It's so tough, because then
let go.
I go back to this mindset of, well, I'd rather feel something than nothing at all. So I
Yeah.
feel like I'm putting myself through these like situations knowing that it's going to cause me pain, but then I'd rather feel it and acknowledge it and then take it and grow, rather than like cutting something off prematurely and not knowing, or
Yeah.
like not feeling it at all.
Yeah. And you feel like in the back of your mind, you know that you should let go, you
Yeah.
know?
I know it, but it's just like,
Why
the
do you feel like you've
process of letting
struggled
go.
so much? Hopefully he doesn't see this.
I'm like, hopefully he doesn't. I'm not saying anything bad though. I feel like I'm giving him a lot of credit.
Yeah, you're probably talking better about him than he deserves. Is it him, like, he doesn't want, like, commitment?
I honestly, I don't know.
Would you
Like,
want to be in a relationship?
See, I think about this all the time, and if I'm being like 1,000% honest, I don't think it's somebody that I could be in a relationship with, because then there's always this like this fear of commitment of
From
him-
your part or to him?
from his part.
Okay,
Like, he won't
yeah.
be committed to me. So I know that this is somebody that I won't, like, most likely won't be able to be in a relationship with. Like, truly, if I'm being completely honest, I don't think so. But there's always a part of me that still thinks like it's good for me.
And I feel like it's just fear of, once I let you go, I'm scared I'm never going to find anyone.
Yeah.
You know? Because you are ready for commitment. Like, you are ready to be in a relationship. And it's like, once I let you go, am I actually going to be able to find someone that, is going to want to be in a relationship with me? That's definitely, like, what happened to me, is like, I know I have to let you go, but, like, once I let you go, I'm going to be lonely. And I'm just scared I'm never going to meet anyone.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's like, not meeting anyone and having you is it's the same thing. Like it hurts me more having you than not, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't want to. And I don't
sometimes
want
I'm
that.
just a little too delusional where I'm like, this is meant to be. We're soulmates, we're twin flames, we're this or that. But you know what is a lot harder? It's when you have somebody that's feeding into that also.
Yeah.
That they're like, oh no, like I feel like we've known each other from a past life. I've never met anyone like
He says
you.
that
Like,
too?
yeah. He's also very intuitive, very like manifestation, knows all
Really?
about this. Yes. So I just go back and forth.
Do you think that he's actually like that, or he just says it because he knows you are and he wants to have this impression in you?
A part of me wants to say that it's just him. Like I see the good in him and I see that it's so genuine, but also there's this little like voice in my head that says, okay, what if he's just doing this to fuck with you?
Yeah,
Like
he's
telling
just like
you what
saying
you want
it
to
for you
hear.
to like
I
stay.
just don't
you
want
know?
to believe it.
Yeah, that's weird. I've never heard that. Like, it's just hard to meet guys like that nowadays. That's why it's
I
hard
know
for me
that's
to believe.
And it's hard for me because I've seen it, I've experienced it, and I want to believe. I do believe that it's like real and genuine. So it's so hard for me to let go because it's so hard to have a conversation with people these days, whether it be men or women.
It really is.
Like to sit down and look people in the eyes and have a real, genuine conversation. It's so rare.
About topics that you genuinely enjoy,
Yeah.
like spirituality, self-growth, like just anything. Like, yeah, especially in this like, you know, environment that we were talking about of like people are just so superficial and
So
are
I feel like
scared
once
to
I
open
find
up.
that,
Yeah.
I just hold on to it so tight and not want to let it go. But sometimes I'm like, I think it's time.
It is. And also, like, why would you think you don't deserve more?
Yeah.
You know? Like, what makes you think you don't deserve more?
I don't know. I feel like I do deserve more. I know that. See, I don't know if I truly believe it, but if I say it enough
Because
times,
if
maybe.
you believed it, it would be easier for you
Yeah.
to actually let it go. But it's just like, it's just practice. Like, I talk about it, and I mean, no shame at all, because I went through it the whole last year where it was like one after the other after the other. And I was like, I think I got so tired of being hurt about the same thing over and over, because it was like one guy after another, always the same thing of like, I'm not ready for commitment. Hitting you up at like 2 a.m. of like, what are you doing? It's like, no.
Was it a pattern you find yourself falling into?
It's a pattern, and it until you don't break it, you never stop going through it. And it's like, okay, well, one day I actually want to get married. And not only that, but it takes my attention and my energy from so many things that also make me happy. Like, I was so dependent that not getting a text back would ruin my whole day, or that I would sit in bed until he would text back, and then I would be like, oh, I'm ready to get my day going. And it's like, it's 3 p.m. You just wasted your whole morning. He probably did not even like think about it like that. And then it's just crazy how excited a text can get you, and how sad it can't, like, not getting it. And it's just so exhausting. It's so exhausting that it's just like, a lot of people chase like butterflies, you know, of like feeling that anxiety of like, he makes me feel so excited. But like, really, like, you'll know when a relationship is healthy when you don't feel anything but peace. Like, sometimes like not feeling anything is really good.
Really?
So, yeah.
See, I don't know what that feels like. I think I'm always in like a constant fight or flight mode.
And that is addictive. Like, emotions, it's literally like an addiction, and that's why sometimes you know, you get stuck in that I can't let him go. It's because you're addicted to all of those emotions. And it's just like being able to, you know, abstain yourself from it, just like alcohol or drugs or whatever. Like, abstain yourself from it a little bit, because this is turning into like a therapy session, but
I
like,
love it so much. I needed this though.
No, okay. We are wired for survival. Like, we're animals at the end of the day. Like, we're wired for survival. So wherever our brain feels safe is where it's going to stay. And our brain requires 21 days of repeating something to feel safe. And so if you've been talking with this guy for 21 days and you constantly, you know, you wake up feeling anxiety and you feel happy and you feel sad and you feel all of these emotions, and you haven't died, because our brain is wired for survival, that is what your brain feels safe in. So I have survived all of these emotions. I'm surviving in this toxic environment. This is
Yeah.
what it's safe, so I'm going to stay here. And because you've gotten your brain so used to surviving in a toxic environment, when you take it away from it, it's like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna
Yeah.
die. I'm gonna die. So I have to go back to my safe space, even if it's not healthy, because I've gotten used to my brain thinking that this is what's safe. Once I get it out of it, even if it's healthy,
Yeah.
then you're gonna feel the need to like go back. And that's why leaving toxicity is so hard, because our brain is actually processing it as I'm in danger, I'm gonna die. But it really
How
is
do you
not.
find yourself moving out of that and kind of sticking by it? Like,
So it's really hard.
yeah.
And it's really hard. And it's like, do whatever it is that abstains yourself from it, like literally block the person or just like cut it off from the root. Just that is why no contact
Doing
is
no
so
contact,
important.
yeah.
Sitting with your emotions and being like, I'm so anxious, I want to call this person so bad. I was going through a breakup,
Yeah.
and I would start hitting myself because of the amount of anxiety that I would get of like, I want to call him so bad, I want to call him so bad. I would literally like it
I used to have a
infuriated
little
me.
rubber band
Yeah.
around my wrist, and I'm always like
Yeah.
just fucking
I
like,
want to text him so bad. I want to
yeah.
call him so bad. And just like being aware of the fact that it's not good is just what my brain feels safe in. Like it's not, you just have to abstain yourself for a little bit. Like it really is not that long, and feel your feelings. Like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
feeling anxiety, and I'm feeling anxiety not because he's actually my person and it's a sign that I have to go back,
Yeah.
but because my brain feels like it's in danger. So that is
Wow,
why.
that's amazing. I'm literally writing all of this down mentally right now, and
It's so important for people to understand because it's so hard to leave. But there's a reason behind it. It's not just like I'm so stupid and I can't stick with my boundaries.
yeah.
It's like no, your brain wants to survive and it wants to keep you safe. So your brain is actually like doing you a favor because our subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
It only knows survival and death. So it doesn't want to die. But you're
And
not
it's
going to
just-
die by leaving a toxic guy. So
You're
recommend
so right.
lesson recommended. Yeah, but let's go back to you. So what would you think are like non-negotiables and boundaries that you, leaving this guy aside, that are like your non-negotiables that if you don't have this, we can't be together?
I haven't really thought about this.
Hmm.
Like non-negotiables for somebody else. I've always had these things for myself, but never truly sat down and asked myself, like, okay, what would I want in a partner? Like, what would the qualities be in a partner that I want?
Hmm.
And I think the main thing would be loyalty.
Okay.
Being with somebody who I feel would be fully committed to me, because I do have a lot of abandonment issues. So the minute I feel like somebody could switch up or that somebody could leave me, that's when like everything comes falling down.
And that's super important, and that's, I feel like you could learn a lot about that because the first person that you have to be loyal to is yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and by remaining in places that are not for you, you're not being loyal to yourself. So that is a very big one that I feel like a lot of people like lack sticking to, but it's so important. Like just loyalty in general, like to your
Yeah.
job, to your friends, to your, you know. This has been such a wonderful conversation.
really
Thank you so
has.
much for being here with me. And before I jump into our last question, I have a little gift for you.
Oh my gosh,
This is
I'm
my
so
brand.
excited.
And the message behind the brand is that we're all strangers healing together. Because I mean, I really didn't know who you were an
Yeah.
hour ago, and now we have just shared so many amazing things that we like have in common, and that we feel things in the same
Yeah.
way. And like I feel like there's so many people that just go through the same things, but because they are afraid to open up, they never, realize that we're all going through something. And my message is with this brand is that we're all strangers healing together. So this is for you.
Thank you so much. This is such a beautiful.
You look so cute.
It's so cute. I love it.
You look so good. Okay, so jumping into our last question. What does healing mean to you?
Healing for me is having a lot of compassion for yourself and being aware that you're going through a journey, and just to take in all of those feelings. And as long as you come out of it a stronger, better version of yourself, that's all that matters. Like, you can't just have a one-track mind about like the concept of healing. You can't have that. You just have to let yourself feel things and try to grow and be better.
I love that. You have 12-year-old Linzy in front of you.
Yeah.
And another little girl that is going through every single thing that you went through growing up. What would your biggest advice be?
My biggest advice would be to have love for yourself. To put yourself first always, no matter how much you feel like you need to please somebody else or do something else to make other people feel better. You have to redirect that energy to yourself because you come first always.
Linzy, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for giving me a little bit of your time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Where can people find you?
On Instagram or TikTok at Linzy Luu.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to follow I Missed Me podcast everywhere. You can listen on every single streaming platform. Don't forget to follow me on social media at Mafe Ansures everywhere. And don't forget to check out the No Name hoodies, nonameproject.co to get yours. We're all strangers healing together. I love you guys, and I will see you guys on our next episode. With love, Mafe.